So for this example, we're going to create the facade of one of Monsieur Tunon's projects, which is this facade. And the name of the project, I think it's an auditorium, but let's see, I think you can find the full name of the project, but if you Google Monsieur Tunon Auditorium, this is what you get. And the facade is done by having these subdivisions, and each of the panels are extruded inward, and the extrusion is different. So we will see how we can create something similar to this. Maybe not exactly the same, but kind of we can work with a similar technique. So I'm going to create a new family, and it's going to be another curtain wall panel system. And I'm going to work with the facade view here. And what I want to do is define an inner rectangle that is constrained by the width and the height of this panel. Okay? And similar to the previous example, I'm going to define them as reporting parameters, so we don't have to change them. So they will be generic models. So I want to create first let's go ahead and create the height and the width parameters. So remember, we have to create the height parameter not associated to the reference level. So if you want to hide this, you can type in double H on your keyboard, because if you use that, it will confuse the system, because the height needs to be on the panel. And if you go to annotate aligned, let's create our width and height parameters, and I'm going to specify this to be the width. Let's call it W, and this is going to be instance parameter, and it's going to be a reporting parameter, and this is going to be my height parameter. It's going to be instance and reporting as well. So now those two are set. What I want to do is define an inner rectangle, because the outer rectangle is going to be locked to these guiding planes. So I need to create the inner rectangle first. So let's define the center of that rectangle. So I'm going to create a copy of this reference plane, and I want this to be at the center of this plane. So let's go ahead and create some annotations. And equalize it. So now this will be locked. And if I flex the model, this one's working. And the center is moving as well. So now I want to specify a rectangle here so that I can create a sweep form. So I'm going to create reference lines. So I'm just going to draw them like this. But what I want to specify is these offsets. So maybe we could first use the annotation tool and make it symmetric on both sides like this. And then I want to create another annotation that specifies the offset from both sides. So one from the top and one from the left. I don't have to create one at the top and the bottom, because if you just specify this dimension, since these are equal, it will create the rectangle. Okay? So this is going to be another parameter, and it's going to be top offset. It's going to be an instance parameter again, but not a reporting parameter. And same goes for this one. This is going to be side offset, and it's going to be an instance parameter. And now what we could do is model the geometry and then maybe specify some formulas for these parameters, or we could specify the formulas first and then create the model geometry. So we could do it either way. Well, let's go ahead and look at our family types and parameters. So right now I have the width and the height here. So maybe we want to use the width and the height to influence these top and side offsets. So maybe the top offset we could specify to be height over 10, and maybe the side offset we want it to be width over 5. And let's hit apply and see how it looks. So it's going to look something like that, right? And again, I can make it really complex. I can say if the height is greater than this value, use height divided by 10, or if width is smaller than this value, use width divided by 5. Actually, let's make it that way. So let's say we write a formula here. So I'm going to do if height is smaller than, let's say, 3 feet, then we can use height over 10. But if not, that means the height is greater than 3 feet, so we could do height over 12. Okay? And I can make another copy of this, or I can write if width is smaller than, let's say, 3 feet, use width over 8, else use width over 12. Okay? And hit apply, hit OK. Now that will give me something like this. And if I flex, you will see that the offsets are changing in a different way because the parameters are changing. Okay? So the flex is working. I can actually make the offsets a little bit more. So if I go to the type, maybe not over 10, but let's make it 6 and 8 here. And let's make this 4 and 6. So now it will be smaller hole in the middle. So now let's create our geometry. I'm going to first create the solid. So I go to create extrusion. Using the rectangle, I'm going to create this solid first and lock it to the reference planes. And let's look at our section view. So right now we don't have any thickness, but maybe we want to specify one. So if I go to create a reference plane, maybe we define another parameter here. So this could be just thickness parameter, and it could be an instance parameter, but I'm going to leave it to be type parameters so that the thickness of all the panels are uniform. And I'm going to snap this to that geometry and do the same thing for this side. So now this is what I have in 3D. It's just a solid box, and I'm going to create the void form now. So I go to the interior view, and I'm going to create a void form and use void blend. So I'm going to first specify the inner rectangle and then lock it to the reference lines that I specified, and then switch to the top and create the other side and then lock these as well. Let's look at it in the section. So this is how that void form looks like, and I want to pull it all the way to the end and lock it. Do the same thing here, lock it. Now this is how it looks like. maybe we can add a glass there. So let's add a simple glass. So we could add a glass. Let's go create sweep, and I'm going to pick path this time. So I'm going to pick these lines which are on the inside, and then I'm going to do the profile by sketch. So I'm going to go to edit profile, and I can specify a rectangle here like that, and when I hit check, it placed the rectangle. It's actually not touching here, so we could adjust it slightly. Let's go to edit sweep, edit profile, and I want to stretch it this direction. So now it's going to touch. Okay. And finally we want to place a glass in the middle. So it's going to be a simple glass piece. So I go to create extrusion, and I'm going to model this plane here and then lock it again. And go to left view and shrink it in size. Okay. Now when I look into 3D view, I don't have any materials for these, so we could specify them. So let's select the frame, go to the material, let's say frame material, and it's going to be a type parameter, and hit OK. Same thing goes for the glass. So let's select the glass, go to material, add material, glass, and notice that I'm selecting type because I don't want to change them one by one. So if it's a type parameter, it will apply to all the panels automatically. And this is pretty much done. So I'm just going to save it to desktop and call it Mansia Tunon. And then let's load it into our project. And let's go to 3D view. Now I already had some subdivisions here, so what I could do is just make a copy of this and change this type. So I select the curtain wall and duplicate it, and then here I'm going to select Mansia Tunon. Hit OK. It will take some time to generate the model. And it has generated the model. So if I go to floor plan, I'm going to flip it to the other direction. I guess it's this guy. And now what I can do is select one of the panels, and here I have, if I go to the edit type, I have glass and the frame material. So maybe I want to give the glass material, and for the frame I want to give a dark aluminum. So let's say we have, do we have any? If we don't, we can just duplicate this one and then rename it Aluminium Dark, and go to the appearance properties, let's see, I'm not sure if you can specify the color here, but let's say we go to graphics, color, let's say it's really dark gray, and use it for render appearance. Let's hope this works. Actually, no, this is dark. This one. Let's import it to be black. Yeah, let's go simple for this one. Done. Apply. Okay, and I have applied these materials, and I'm going to say apply. And okay, I've created facade.